And I was like, what? Like, you teach people to cook? Like, you can do that? You know what I mean? And at that time, like, I was probably blazing trees probably more often than I probably should have.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, there's nothing. This could be good. I could, maybe blaze before.
Yeah.
And then go to class and maybe cook myself something to eat.
Yeah.
That was where my mind was. Right? So I ended up in this class, this vocational class. And it's probably about, 4 or 5 months into it. And the chefs, they're strict, right? Like, they wouldn't let me touch a pan. I wasn't able to do any cooking. Like, all the opposite. I was on the dish every day, or I was on the floor every day, sweeping, mopping, right? Like, that's just where they had me. And I finally came up to one of the instructors. I was like, Sean Nugent was his name. He saved my life, the guy. He says, I say to him, rather, I joined this class because I want to learn how to cook. You guys aren't teaching me anything about cooking.
Yeah.
He's like, well, if you stop coming to class high every day, we might let you pick up a knife. And I said, wow, okay, these guys, they knew what was going on, right? So, I mean, I'm not proud of that, but that's just what happened, right? And so when I was able to rectify that little problem, they kind of took me under their wing, and they realized that I had a natural ability, I think, and they taught me how to make my first galantine, my first ballantine, very classical French things. And then these cooking competitions came up through this organization called Skills USA VICA, or Vocational Industrial Clubs of America. And I competed at the city level, and I won. And then I competed at the county level, and I won. And then I competed at the state level, and I won. And ended up going to nationals for two years in a row and winning the 2 years. So got a full ride scholarship to culinary school, and that's how that happened. But as I was a student there, the chef got me a job at the premier restaurant in El Paso at the time, which I believe probably still is. It's called Cafe Central, and it's downtown El Paso, and it's where I tasted my first seared foie gras. It's where I tasted my first oyster. It's where I had lobster for the first time. It's where I tasted truffle oil, right?
Yeah.
It's where I tasted everything besides rice and beans
exactly.
that I was used to. And the kitchen was like a kitchen of bandits. It was just like, we were all just I was the youngest guy, obviously. I was a teenager. And I was in this kitchen with all these like 25 and 30-year-old dudes that are just raging hardcore.
Yeah.
And I was already raging at a super young age, so I just I fit right in.
Yeah.
And so like I worked there for 2.5 or 3 years. And finally, like I had kind of got to that point where I'm like way too old to be at as a senior at school.
Yeah.
So I ended up dropping out again and just working. And but I had the scholarship money to use. So the culinary school in Dallas called me, the Culinary Institute of America of Dallas rather, calls me, and they say, hey, listen, like, you've got the scholarship money. Like, if you don't use it, you're gonna lose it.
Yeah.
So I got that phone call, and within like weeks, I was at community college in El Paso, got my GED.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing I know, like, I'm telling all my friends, like, yo, I'm out, and they're like, you're not going. You ain't gonna do it. You ain't shit. You ain't gonna do it. And I was like, deuces, I'm out. And I just left. I just literally picked up, left. My old man gave me his van. I lived out of this van. So I moved to Dallas, which is like a 12 to 13 hour drive from El Paso.
A long time away from home.
It's not a short drive. And I lived out of the van. I lived out of the van for like the first 2 months.
Yeah.
Month and a half.
So going to culinary school where you have to have your shit ironed.
Yeah, I was living out of this van. I was showering at the dorms in or the whatever it was there at school. It wasn't really a university; it was an art school.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really dorms. It was just kind of like these like places where you can like kind of wash up, washrooms or whatever.
Okay.
So I did that for a little while, and then I ended up landing a place with some homies moved from El Paso. They're like, "Oh, you really are going to do it." So they moved there, and then we kind of got a place, and then that's how that whole thing went down.
Very cool. What were your friends trying to do up there? Just chill out?
Just trying to milk me. Just trying to milk me. I felt like I've always kind of been, I've always had a leadership quality to myself. So I've always been the one to take the first step.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay,
so
that's always good.
Yeah.
And then, so you're in this school. You finally get a place 2 months after. Where did you live? Where did you get a place?
I lived
How'd that happen?
in Oak Cliff, which is
Oak Cliff.
South Dallas, which is definitely the roughest neighborhood.
Yeah.
In Dallas, right? But I was kind of used to that. You know what I mean? I kind of grew up on the street a little bit.
Living in your van, ain't nobody gonna fuck with you.
You know, at that point, we had rented a place, and you know, it was definitely in the hood for sure. And you know, so two of my buddies ended up moving in with me, and I had a job at a country. I ended up landing a job at a country club, and met a chef there named Michael Scott, and Michael Scott really showed me like the shit that I thought I knew.
Yeah.
You know, I was a little cocky. I felt like I was coming to culinary school. I'd already been cooking for a couple years. I was in these culinary competitions. I had won.
Yeah.
I kind of had a big head. You know what I mean? I was the president of the culinary arts team for the ACF. You know what I mean? We did some competitions in culinary school and won. You know, so when I took this job at this country club, with Michael Scott, he was one of the presidents of the Texas Chefs Association and the ACF.
Yeah.
ACF was a big thing back then.
It was, yeah.
You know, so I was able to jump in with him, and I became a commis for his team, and his team did international competitions, Sweden, Denmark, you know, a bunch of countries in Asia. And I was able to jump on with them as the team's commis.
Okay.
You know, so I traveled with them to a couple different countries as like a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid. And that really opened my eyes to travel. It opened my eyes to the world. It was my first time out of the U.S., out of Texas, I feel like, in some ways, you know. And he's the one that said to me, you know what I mean, if you want to be the best, you got to surround yourself with the best people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if it wasn't for Michael Scott, I you know, I don't know if I would have gotten the direction I needed.
Yeah.
To really, like, you know, push myself to the next level. And then you know how this business is. It's like you end up taking a job somewhere, and then this guy knows that guy, and you know, before you know it, you say you're going here, and it's like, oh, I got a homie there, whatever else, and that's kind of how that happened. And he got me a job in South Florida.
South Florida.
Yeah,
what was the place called?
I ended up moving to Boca Raton, and I went to a resort there called the Boca Raton Resort.
Got you. So this is you finished with school, getting in the van, driving to Florida.
No more van. The van shit the bed. now I'm in a 1990 maroon Z71 pickup truck.
There you go.
You know,
classic
driving through Louisiana and Mississippi.
Almost getting killed.
The truck broke down twice.
Yeah.
You know, I spent all the money I had to get a place when I got to Florida on getting the truck fixed on my way there.
Yeah.
Which sucked. Now I'm in the truck again, living out of the truck when I get to the Boca Resort until I can get enough money put together, you know what I mean, to get me a place. And I got me a little one-bedroom studio finally, like right on the beach, and life was grand.
Fuck yeah. How old were you then?
I just turned 21.
21, living on the beach in Miami.
Boca Raton, Deerfield Beach, Fort Lauderdale area.
Okay, got you. What's that, north of Miami?
It's north of
Miami.
Got you.
Yeah. I'm not really good at geography.
It's all good.
I definitely let everybody know that on the podcast. Don't follow my geographical fucking... I have no idea where I am. So you go to Florida, and then you get this job. Now, to get the job that you got when you talked to somebody on the phone, so they got you the job.
I remember mailing my resume.
Okay, there you go. Mail fucking resume. That doesn't happen anymore, right?
I mailed my resume to their HR department with my my internship papers. I mailed it to them.
Yeah.
And I had a phone conversation with the chef, Andrew Rowenbeck was his name. I had a conversation with him. You know, he's like, Michael Scott's my boy. I hear that you're like his go-to, and you've spent a lot of time there. And I also, when I was in Dallas, I also worked at a place called the Mansion on Turtle Creek for a chef named Dean Faring. which was the kind of complete opposite
Yeah.
of what I was doing in the country club stuff.
That was sort of an institution in Texas.
Yeah,
I've heard of that chef and that place.
Yeah, he's still doing his thing.
Yeah.
Dean is no longer the chef there. Actually, one of my old chefs is now there, Bruno Davillon. He's an Alain Ducasse guy. But so yeah, it's kind of crazy how that whole thing. But the Mansion on Turkey definitely was the spot.
The premier spot.
It was the premier spot, and I was able to spend 6 months there before I left.
Okay.
Before I left out to Florida.
Were you staging?
I was kind of like doing a couple days a week and then getting paid, not getting paid there, but then getting paid, at the country club.
Were you on the hotline at all, or just a prep?
No, I was just kind of like more of prep, more garde-manger, you know what I mean? They didn't really let me on. The guys on the hotline were like 4 Mexican dudes who had been there for 40 years.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You ain't cooking the shit better than they do.
No, you didn't touch, you know what I mean? So the only thing I was able to do were the lobster tacos. That was like their dish back then, and the lobster tacos, I remember just getting crushed with those fucking tacos. It was just you know what I mean? It was bad.
I bet you were like, I don't want to make tacos ever again.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was coming from a country club thing,
Yeah.
right? You're serving members who want special request things.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of creativity there because some of the members would be like, I don't care what you're cooking, just cook something good, And that's just what the members wanted. So you did what they wanted. And then I was coming from the competition world where, you plan and plan and plan, and you execute one time and then it's done.
Yeah.
So at that point, I had hotline experience, but not like what those guys had.
Yeah.
Those guys
I
were
hear
like savages.
Yeah.
They're
like, we don't fucking want you over here.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes you kind of want it more.
Oh, it
You're
made
like,
me want it more for
show
sure.
you.
But I knew I was there only for a short period of time, and it was kind of just a stepping stone. And I was able to be around Dean for a short period of time, which was awesome. He was like, at that point, man, he was like such a celebrity, and he was like sponsored by like Wranglers and like Levi's, and like he had like it was my first taste of like what superstar celebrity chef could be, right? This was when Emerald had just kind of started his cooking show, and I didn't even know about Emerald's cooking show, but it was in those times. It was it was 2001 and 2 and 3.
So you get a little respect.
Yeah.
That was when Hell's Kitchen was on at that time.
Yeah, probably.
And see a fucking prime time. I remember as a kid, I was watching that shit like, wow.
Yeah.
So you go to this resort, and sort of, what did it have you doing there when you first started?
Started in banquets. I started as a banquet plater. I was plating up food for all these massive
500, 600 people weddings.
And then my first 2 months, that's what my deal was, because I was on an internship. And then I was able to move through that, and then I moved there. You kind of cycle through different kitchens.
Yeah.
So I cycled through 2 other kitchens, an Italian kitchen, and then a kind of an international kitchen that kind of did a little bit of everything. We had breakfast and all that other shit. And then I ended up at the premier restaurant, or the fine dining restaurant, which was called 27 Ocean Blue. And that was on the 27th floor of the resort, overlooked the Intercoastal, overlooked, the Atlantic Ocean. It was stunning, right? Absolutely stunning. And when I got up there, I was like, all right, this is where I need to be, right? And at the time, there was a chef there named Rick Boyer. Rick had come out from working from Arizona in Scottsdale for a chef named something Serrano. I can't think of his name, but super well-known chef in Vegas when Vegas was just popping off. So I knew he knew what he was doing. So I knew I wanted to be in that kitchen. So I did everything I could to stay there, right? So I convinced them to not push me on to the next, to the next phase of the internship. And I probably only had like another 6 months or whatever left of it, and I was able to convince them that they needed me in that kitchen.
Yeah.
And I was able to finish off, whatever internship left I had, in that kitchen,
yeah.
and I ended up getting hired on full time
Oh, okay.
there, and then I ended up working my way up there.